Hello everyone. Today we have Rao sir, who is ex-director of IT Delhi, and I remember interacting with him on his still day in my first year. And reason I interacted with him was because he was helping one of my senior who was working on a project, and I had no idea that he is the current director of IT Delhi back that time. I requested him to help me with something just because of his helping nature and the way he was thinking during those questions. So later on, I got to know he's also the director and the mostly the one on the campus who is actively taking initiatives, not just working on the things which is his responsibility, but also thinking different dimension which can overall enhance the quality of education around entrepreneurship on the campus. So I'm very happy to have you,
Thank you.
sir. So we will be first of all asking this question to you that what is your motivation where you actively not only LinkedIn but also in general around the campus keep focusing on the things which can help a founder on a very fundamental level. You think you yourself have that entrepreneurial instinct in you, or you think as a faculty or a teacher it's your responsibility to do that?
I, in fact, come from IIT Bombay, as everyone knows. I spent 18 years there. I have two deep technology startups myself,
Right.
which are successful now with products in the market, which are also selling technologies. In fact, next time when you go through the Delhi airport, you will have the technology that we developed, which is NanoSniff Technologies Limited. NanoSniff is the startup that I co-founded, and NanoSniff has launched the product. So Delhi Airport is using NanoSniff technologies for screening. So we have been able to reach that level, and now a lot of growth is taking place in that direction. Also, my other startup, Soil Sense, is selling technologies for the farmers. So I have always believed in entrepreneurship, and I have always, even as a researcher, my goal always has not only been to, of course, publish high quality papers, file patents and all that, but also take these technologies to the market, to the society. So from the beginning, I have believed in converting knowledge into wealth. That is what I have strongly believed in, and so that is what I did at my individual level. And after I have moved to IIT Delhi in 2016, and I pursued that on a larger scale, whether it is through encouraging student startups or faculty startups. In fact, IIT Delhi, has one of the very fine kind of programs in the country today for faculty startups. We started a program called FIRE, Faculty Innovation and Research Driven Entrepreneurship. My belief always has been that if faculty members become entrepreneurs, if they lead the way by translating their knowledge into wealth, more and more students will get into that sort of a mode of research, doing research, and more PhD students will get into entrepreneurship, and that is how the deep technology entrepreneurship in this country will thrive. So while we have done very well in e-commerce, fintech kind of startups, we haven't done well when it comes to deep technologies. And technologies create wealth. So therefore we need to work on new technologies, develop products which will meet the requirements of society, whether it is security, healthcare, agriculture, whatever domain you pick up, and then solve those problems. In the process, you generate wealth. So that is what I have always believed in, and I also led the institute in that direction. So most of the initiatives we have taken is because of my strong belief that knowledge eventually needs to get translated into wealth. At least, as an engineer, I believed in that very strongly.
You mentioned that we need more faculty startups, and what I know that students in IT Delhi, I think in any institute wanna work with faculties because they learn a lot while working with them. And when you say that we can have many faculty startups if we have the right initiative in place, I can see the projects will be more entrepreneurial in nature. Because right now most of the projects are around the academia. You know, you have the research, you have all the things which are around the lab, and if faculty themselves will be having startups, which we have started doing that, then I think students if get the sense that my faculty himself is having a startup, then I should be having the one, because I think that will give the very significant change in the mindset of the students we have on the campus. But sir, I would like to know that what is that in your journey as a faculty push you that you should be having a startup, or maybe you should have the approach where you want to convert knowledge into the wealth, because I really see it coming from people who are having their core investment in the academia area. What was the days where you had this approach, or what was your reason that you want to
Yeah.
do something around
Yeah.
entrepreneurship?
I think the e-commerce fintech kind of startups have happened. I think in fact, IIT Delhi alumni have shown the way.
Right.
It all started with Flipkart in this country, that area of startup culture. And but when it comes to deep technology, things are a little bit different. If you want to start a company in nanotechnology, right, the BTech degree alone is not sufficient. You need to do research in that area. You need to be an expert in that area, and then you need to apply the knowledge that you have learned to a problem that you see, which will require that sort of a deep technology.
Right.
So that will only come unless will only come if you have worked in that area for a long enough time. You know the kind of intricacies of these technologies, and go beyond basic research and do applied research and all of that. And so therefore it requires the deep technology kind of a understanding. And IITs that way are the powerhouses. If you look at this country, IITs are the places where there is the highest level of talent available. In fact, the kind of talent that is available in this country, I find it mostly untapped. The country hasn't utilized the talent that is available in these institutions. And if these people are directed to work on a problem, I can tell you they can find a solution, because these are the best brains in the world, not just in India, the people who reach IITs. And it's unfortunate that this country never knew how to utilize this talent, which is a bad luck for the nation. But for example, even look at the situation during the COVID, right? Look at just IIT Delhi, because I was the head of the institute, during those 2 years. And once the COVID struck the country, right, everybody was completely clueless what to do. Starting from simple masks to ventilators to vaccines to nothing was available, right? And then we started to understand what to do and how to do, kind of a thing. During that time at IIT Delhi, like all other institutions, we also closed down the institute. But we told the faculty that anybody who wants to work on COVID related problems, in finding solutions to dealing with COVID, they can stay on the campus and they can stay. Their laboratories will be open. Their students can stay on the campus, and we will even fund them from IIT resources, so that they don't have to go out and get funding and all of that. So we provided them all the support, and at least 24 faculty stayed back, and they worked day and night during that time. And IIT Delhi developed the mask, the highest quality mask, N99 kind of mask at 40 rupees, right? The Kavach brand came out of IIT Delhi. Those masks sold over 20 million kind of a thing during that period. And then within a few months after that, we had the world's most affordable RT-PCR kit, completely an indigenous kit. While they were charging 3,000 rupees kind of a price outside, we launched it through the ministry with ICMR approvals, a 399 rupees kit. We licensed it to 9 industries, and then that got into the market, which brought down the prices of the RT-PCR. Then within a few months after that, we launched the antibody kit, right, 50 rupees antibody kit, which again got ICMR approved. In 50 rupees, it was as good as anything that was available anywhere in the world, and we used it extensively on the campus to control the COVID spread. All of that came out of just one institute. All that was needed was to direct the energies, the knowledge of all these people in one direction. Once it was done, it all was achieved, and IIT Delhi developed technologies, touched a few tens of millions of people in this country. And it has happened because the problems were a kind of challenges were given to them. They were told to work on a particular problem. They were provided the resources, and all of that happened in a matter of 1.5 years, just in 1.5 years. That is the power of what IITs can do. And just imagine at the national level, we define such grand challenges. We provide resources to these institutions, and there is nothing that we will not be able to solve if we take the top down kind of an approach or a grand challenge kind of an approach. In the absence of it, what happens is, if there are 700 faculty, they are working on 500 different problems, and then there is lot of work happening, but it all tends to be incremental, and you don't get to see the impact of it outside, and people start blaming, there is nothing much happening, this and all that. But it's it's something which we need to direct from the top, and if it is done, there is immense potential that exists on these campuses. I just hope the country utilizes the resource that is available in IITs, and provides all the necessary resources for these institutions.
I remember COVID times, and especially when the moment was so intense that everyone was struggling with the basic resources. I think I and my friend like Amar also had few initiatives which can maybe help people with ventilators, blood supplies, and maybe anything we can possibly do. On the same time, I remember faculties having initiatives, as you mentioned, but I wasn't aware that these faculties who were having these projects, especially Kavach, where admin was also involved. They also having these fruitful conversation that we are here for you. I thought only these people have this driven instinct in them that they want to help. Not I now know that admin also did a lot over there to help these faculties. And you mentioned that country is not able to utilize the talent we are having on the campus. So what I know that we have initiatives, we have institute policies which help entrepreneurs if they want to do, and we have many such initiatives so far I know that. And you say that still we are not able to do that as a country or as an institute. So what else we as an institute can do if that is the problem? Or we have a mentality coming from students where maybe they are fearful, or maybe they think that they don't have the resources, or maybe they prefer to do something which is traditional in nature. What do you think as an institute we can do over there? Is that something to do with the faculty and the way they interact with the students? Do it have something to do attendance policy or maybe something else? What do you think? What is the problem behind that?
Yeah. I think when you look at an institution, there are three aspects to an institution. One is education, right? That is something which we do very well. After all, our graduates are the most employable, and they are the highly preferred wherever they go and all that. So education part we are doing. Of course, we can provide more flexibility, keep revising the curriculum. All of that will happen, and it is already happening.
Yeah.
The second aspect is research, right? While education is about disseminating the knowledge that is available, research is about generation of new knowledge, right? What you do as research is you find something new, right, and then you publish a paper, and after 10 years or so people read those papers, and during that time, and then some of that matter gets into textbooks. That way textbooks are continuously revised and updated.
Right.
So that new knowledge gets into textbooks. So research and education always go hand in hand. So therefore every faculty member you will see is not only teaching but also doing research, because that is what in IITs we strongly believe we must be doing very effectively. But the third aspect is innovation. Innovation is generating value for research, right? You can generate knowledge by doing research, but if you are using that knowledge to generate value, right, the value could be in terms of generating, in terms of somebody paying money to buy that product, or you have solved a problem to some social kind of enterprises. All of that is value for the society. So finally, if you are able to generate value for research, that is what one would call innovation.
Right.
That innovation is where we are a bit weaker. While research and education part we are doing very well, right? Even as a country, if you see, India ranks third in research today in terms of papers published in the world, right? But when it comes to innovation, we rank 46th. We were actually much worse, but right now we rank 46th. Therefore, innovation requires a different kind of a mindset.
Can
Now,
you
what
explain innovation bit?
exactly?
sort
So,
of?
what is innovation? So, therefore, innovation is let's say I am doing research on London air quality, right? Because I have some data, and some friend there told me, all this data is available here, and can you, develop a model? Can you do something, where you can publish a good paper kind of a thing? So I can collaborate, I can download the data, I can do research, I can publish a good paper on London air quality.
Right.
That is research. Now, whatever knowledge that I have gained by understanding the London air quality, modeling that, publishing good papers, if I apply to Delhi air quality, right, and if I generate similar kind of data here, and if I deploy those solutions in the society, right, with the help of government agencies, with the help of the local administration, and if I help reduce the Delhi air pollution by 10%, 5%, right, that is innovation.
Right.
So therefore, while I can do research and publish papers studying a problem, if I am applying all of that knowledge to actually solve a problem that exists around me, then that becomes innovation. So innovation is all about generating value for your research. And how does innovation happen? Innovation will happen when your research has a relevance, right? I can spend my entire lifetime studying the air quality of all the different countries, all the different cities in the world, and keep publishing papers. I just publish papers and keep quiet. Then I move on from one city to next. I can be a good researcher. There is nothing wrong in that. But if so, therefore, but if I bring relevance to that research, I now studied all of that, and I have also seen how they have solved that problem. I apply all of that knowledge to Delhi, and then I help improve that. So that then there is a relevance here. And when I bring in that relevance and when I solve that problem, then I become an innovator. But not only bringing in the relevance, you also need to have a delivery model, right? If no, I might have developed a great solution to a problem, but if it stays in my laboratory, if nobody else knows about it, it doesn't make any difference to anybody. So therefore, relevance also needs to go alongside the delivery. So delivery, how will it happen? Delivery will happen either by collaborating with an industry. I tie up with an industry now. I transfer my knowledge, my technology, my IP, intellectual property to them. They use all of my knowledge and develop a solution and solve a problem. So therefore, now it has got delivered to the stakeholders and the end users or the society. And then or I can start a company of my own, right? And I bring in some of my students who have worked on the problem. We form a team, and then we start that company. We receive funding from investors, and then we transfer that technology, or we deliver that solution to the society using a startup. So therefore, the delivery usually happens either by working with an industry or by working with on your own startup and then taking it forward. So both these options are available. Sometimes you might also have a government agency come in and where you can educate them, and that also might happen. But governments are not often in the business of earning money or anything. So while governments can create that large scale impact, but I think usually innovation happens when you tie up with an industry or through a startup kind of a way. And so in between research and innovation lies the patenting. So we need to protect your IP. If I have an idea, if I don't protect it, and even if I develop a product out of it, everybody can copy, and then you have now nothing to claim. So therefore, whenever you want to do that knowledge to wealth translation, the patenting becomes very important. IIT Delhi, for example, in 2016 when I joined, IIT Delhi filed about 17 patents, 18 patents. So 15 to 20 patents is what IIT Delhi used to file. And in 2022, when I stepped down, IIT Delhi was filing 160 patents, 170 patents. So we could raise that number by almost 10 times, by bringing awareness about patenting. Because for more startups to come out of the institute, you need to protect more IP. So that culture needs to be established, and it was all done through a design, through planning, and by activating all of these processes, by reducing the bureaucracy, by reducing time for filing a patent. So a lot of things we did. We also encouraged faculty who did startups and who filed patents, and we started recognizing that activity as part of their annual appraisals and all of that. So I think through those kind of means we were able to make the institute more innovative. And during the COVID time, all of that really helped, and no institute in the country can claim to have contributed more to the COVID problem than IIT Delhi. And number of people who have got impacted by the technologies developed at IIT Delhi, at no other institute can actually claim the same number of people. So I think it has happened because the administration was working with the faculty and students. And for example, launching that COVID kit, right, was not a easy journey, because ICMR approvals, you cannot do that unless institute solidly is behind those faculty members and students, and works with the government agencies. So all of that, I personally went to ministries, fought with secretaries, brought people together. A lot of effort has gone into getting all of that done, because I strongly believe that knowledge eventually needs to be translated into wealth. While knowledge for the sake of generating knowledge is fine, right? I don't have any issues with that. That is what basic researchers do. But we are a technology institute. Right. We claim to be a technology institute. So at least 30 to 40% of faculty here must be focusing on knowledge to wealth translation. While rest of them can keep generating knowledge, which is good, but at least 30 to 40% of IIT faculty must focus on the translation kind of research. And there are many faculty members here doing that. In fact, IIT Delhi has a lot of depth when it comes to technologies, harnessing this potential and directing all of this knowledge towards an end goal, I think is what I believe is the role of an institute, a role of administrators.
I remember one senior sharing this story where he had a fight with another student of a university coming from the England, and he was mentioning that I won a fight over a paper which I published earlier, and this guy was trying to patent it. And then I was like, okay, what you did with that paper? He was like, nothing. So I was like, sir, हुआ तो फिर भी कुछ भी नहीं. So there are many papers getting published which are there, which can be mentioned again on their profile so that they can say I have these many papers, but this is no utility over there. So I think you mentioned it that you must be having a relevant point to do a research. On the same time, you should have a utility coming directly so that it can bring some impact or can help someone in some way, and eventually that will be converted to wealth. Secondly, you need to also think about the distribution. You cannot keep aside the fact that you need to make sure that it reaches out to the right place, because I think as a researcher it is a burden to you at a certain level that whatever you are putting your time on, that should go to the right place, otherwise it ends up becoming nothing. So that might be problematic to hear, but I see that many people aggressively focus on the research so that they can do something around the academy level, not something they really want to do, or maybe it can help someone. So if you say that we need to have the utility point of the research, so you think that a policy can help or incentivize faculty or maybe a student to take that approach instead of just going ahead with a given topic to the research so that they can get rid of their work?
It's a good point. In fact, these are the matters on which the society and everybody, students, need to be educated. For example, I have written about 500 papers, close to 500 papers. The exact number is some 485 papers or something, all in refereed international journals and conferences. Every paper reviewed by 2 or 3 external reviewers. So I have done all of that. But out of that research, I have also filed 50 patents, right? So that ratio therefore is 1:10. For every 10 papers I publish, I filed 1 patent, right? Now out of those patents will come startups, right? I have 50 patents, I have now 2 startups, right? That could have been better than that, but so therefore, there is nothing wrong in publishing more and more papers. There is nothing wrong, because every paper incrementally advances science. And remember, thousands of PhD students, faculty pushing, this envelope further and further, the knowledge expands, right? And that is what we eventually benefit from, and society advances and we learn new things and all of that. So that's the purpose research serves. But if you look at US, for example, I mean, US is the powerhouse of innovation, right? Anything you see eventually comes out of US, right? I mean, look at all the new age industries. Last 20 years, all the companies that you hear now talk about, the most valued companies, have all just come out of US in the last 20-25 years.
Right.
And but even US, if you study, I work in the nanotechnology area.
Yeah.
In US, when you look at the number of papers published in the nanotechnology, we did that study in 2019. If you look at US, wrote about something like 23,000, something like 20,000 papers or so in 2019 in the nanotechnology area, and they have filed about 5,000 patents. So for every 5 papers written from US, they protect one IP. There is one IP that gets generated. In India, in the same year, right, we wrote about 15,000 papers or so, 16,000 papers or so. We filed about how many patents? About 50 patents. So for every 300 papers, we generate one IP, right? That's the difference between innovation potential of a country. In the US now, because they are protecting their IP enough, right, and they now lot of IP gets filed there. Out of those patents, out of that intellectual property, the companies benefit, right? They start new products, launch new products with all of that IP protected and all that. In India, we are generating knowledge, but we are not protecting enough. As a result, the deep technology startups in the country aren't as many as we would have liked to see, not proportionate to the amount of research that is happening in the country. So these things need to be therefore driven through a policy. I have always felt that, I have always said this, in open fora, that out of, fix a ratio of, for this many papers, I will file this many patents. And out of this many patents, I will start this many companies, right? So that ratio can be 1:10. For every 10 papers, you file 1 patent, and for every 10 patents, you start 1 company. If you are not able to do that, then it just remains there, right? These are papers lying around. Somebody might benefit, which is okay, or you file a patent, the patent lives there, right? After some time it gets expired, right? There are so many such patents which are not utilized at all. So it doesn't serve much of a purpose. So as a researcher, I have always set myself the targets that while I would like to publish papers, advance the knowledge for the sake of humanity, but I would also like to protect my intellectual property wherever it is necessary, and out of that protected intellectual property I would also start companies. And I have also worked with industries. I have worked with almost all the major semiconductor industries. In fact, I have a letter from Intel saying that the technologies we developed jointly with Intel researchers have now been in over hundreds of millions of integrated circuits all over the world. So Intel has used our IP, right, generated with their researchers when I was working with them, and so that IP now is in hundreds of millions of chips of Intel. So therefore, I feel happy that whatever I did as a researcher has now benefited the community, the humanity in some way, in help improve the battery life of your mobile phones to making things faster and all of that. Or now in the society, if the airports are using these technologies, the credit goes to the PhD students who worked with me, who are heading these companies. My two startups are now led by my PhD students who have graduated, and now they are hiring more PhDs, and now they are on their own. So they are developing these technologies. So I feel happy that whatever I have done, right, is eventually somebody has benefited in the society, and I have also published lots of papers. So I think that is what I believe is a kind of a productive way one should be doing research. Now I am not the best example. In US there are people who have done better than that, but I think given the limitations, constraints of the country, I have done very well for myself.
I don't know about US people and their faculty, they must have done a great job, but whatever I have seen so far as a student, I think you are the most entrepreneurial faculty I have ever seen. Not because you have made sure that you have the patent and the IP, but also the way you describe that your PhD students are heading the companies. And I don't think you actively interfere exactly what should go, how should go. You did your part and you let them do their part. That's great.
So these are all like the relay races. You start, you run for some time, you hand it over to the students, they run it for some time. Right now they are the ones who are running, they have not left the companies, but that's how these technologies work. So everybody has played a role, and it wouldn't have happened if I dropped the baton somewhere. It would have actually ended the race there. So
you mentioned we don't go for the painted. What is the problem? It's just we don't think it is really important for us to do that, or the process is really tough. And if answer is yes, then how we can make it more flexible?
It's a cultural thing. In India, for example, we have never seen Lakshmi and Saraswati together, right? If you see a professor who is rich, you get worried, why is this person rich, kind of a thing. You see a professor who is showing off his or her wealth, you worried, अरे professor है क्यों ऐसा कर रहे हैं, right?
So आपने कभी consider किया I shouldn't be spending much because now people will ask the question.
I don't spend much. I have actually in my companies I have given away the equity to the students and to the employees. I am not doing it. I have enough for my own requirements, and so that's not so important for me. But I think in India that Lakshmi and Saraswati together, it's a cultural problem for us. In the US, for example, it happens all the time. There are professors who are billionaires and who have become billionaires by virtue of their research, by virtue of their generating wealth out of their knowledge. In India, first of all, in universities in India, it's not even allowed for professors to start companies. Thanks to IITs, at least IIT professors can do that.
Right.
You go to a university, there are hazar problems for them to even think of starting a company on their own and all that, because this country has its own issues when it comes to that. So we have kept the knowledge, Saraswati and Lakshmi always separate, which is a cultural thing, but we need to keep changing slowly. And hopefully it will happen. In IIT Delhi, a lot of changes have taken place. In some departments, I know every 5th faculty member has a successful startup. When I say a successful startup, with a product in the market. Now every 5th faculty member in some departments. So that transition has happened now. But I think one institute doing that is a drop in the ocean. Now India is a large country. There are over 1,000 universities. So we need to have more and more universities, develop policies like that, and then translate their knowledge into wealth. And even in IIT Delhi, Delhi has very deep strengths when it comes to technology development, and the institute faculty, there are some excellent people on the faculty here. I think we need to motivate them, we need to encourage them, we need to provide them the resources, and they can do wonders. And the same thing happens or applies to every other IIT in this country.
Do you think as an institute we should focus on our people only, or you think we can go outside the campus and can help other colleges and their faculties and their students also? Because I think we are at a stage where we have the right resources, and if we are not at monetary level, I think we have enough wisdom where we can maybe help them as a mentor. What do you think about that?
That's the reason, if you are wondering why I am active on LinkedIn, I have so many followers and all that. This is the reason why I am active on LinkedIn, because we have done well as an institute, but we need to communicate now. We need to let the world know what are the benchmarks. If IIT Delhi is able to file 160, 170 patents during the COVID time, I think that sets a benchmark. Now, why can't you do that?
Right.
So and if IIT Delhi has started a policy for faculty entrepreneurship, why can't other institutions do that?
Right.
If IIT Delhi started professors of practice positions and benefiting from these professors of practice positions, the whole country should benefit from that.
Right.
Unfortunately, UGC took that policy paper from IIT Delhi because we reached out to the media, through media and all that. Now UGC has implemented exactly similar professor of practice positions in all universities. So I think the reason why we need to communicate is to spread this message, let the world know what exactly is happening here, and then let at least the other institutions in the country to emulate these good examples, and then benefit from these kind of policies.
You being the board of governor and director of IT Delhi, having two startups, already have many research to do. You may take the classes also. You need to write on LinkedIn also. So how you manage your day? How you start your day? I mean, you make a paper and write to do, or you have a calendar. How exactly you make sure that you are at the right time at the right place, and also same time you make sure that you do all of your work?
I actually work hard. I mean, I'm always thinking of something, and I also travel a lot. All the LinkedIn posts I make are written on flights, right? If the longer the flight, the longer is my post, right? And so everything that I do on social media is all done on flights or while traveling in cars. So that way, I use that time very productively. And otherwise, I have students, and I work with the students, and I advise many people. So many people come and meet with me. I have always followed this open door policy. Even as a director, I think any student could just write to me directly and come and meet with me. I never had any airs about any position or anything, because I think I thought I have a responsibility to the society, and I always believed that it's the students in these institutions who are the future of the country, and so you are the ones who need to really take this country forward. And I've always said that the startup founders are like the freedom fighters for India. I mean, the startup founders are the people who will make this country go forward and see a brighter future. And so therefore, I have always advised startups. I'm on many boards of these startups, advisory committees, and so I do that part as a duty right now. So
You were there in IT Bombay for 18 years. You had a great time over here also. You initiated many things which had a impact on a really great level. What do you think? There has been a shift in the mindset of the student, or you have seen entrepreneurial culture growing a lot, or you think we are still at a stage where we need to push it harder?
in fact, of late, last 1 year, I have been writing articles in newspapers on these topics, Times of India, Indian Express, and all of that. And one thing, which I have always complained about IIT students is the IIT students are not continuing beyond BTech, right? A large, only about less than 5% of IIT students are continuing for higher education, at least at IIT Delhi. And that is hurting innovation in technology sectors, right? So after BTech, the kind of entrepreneurship you can do, the kind of startups you can found are in e-commerce, fintech, those which have a low barrier for entry, right? Anything which is a deep technology base, BTech doesn't give you all the knowledge required for doing that. Let's say you want to start a company in quantum technology. That is not going to happen after BTech. You need to either work in those companies, learn by doing things, or you need to study and do a PhD in quantum technology, and then you can take that jump of becoming an entrepreneur. And that is currently not happening. Since many students are dropping off after BTech, we are finding it very difficult to get good PhD students in IITs right now. IITs are not even able to fill up their PhD positions available because all the good talent in the country, not just IITs but all good institutions in the country, students are somehow in a hurry to start their careers in the job. With a job, and so as a result the higher education sector beyond the BTech is suffering, and because the talent is not coming to those PhDs, our ability to innovate in quantum technologies, in nanotechnology, in cognitive technologies, is very limited right now. Even in biotechnologies is very limited, and as a result we are stuck with IT. After IT the world has moved on to so many new technologies. After IT came biotechnology, after biotechnology came nanotechnology, after nanotechnology came cognitive technologies, AI, ML. After that now everybody is talking of quantum technologies, but we are still stuck with IT, right? So I think that is essentially because of students not pursuing higher education, dropping off very early. This needs to change. Our top talent needs to go do a PhD in these areas. PhD doesn't mean you want to become a professor. PhD also means now you know much more, right, about that area. Now you can apply that knowledge that you have gained to more problems, and you can do startups which have a deep technology focus, which have a much higher barrier for entry, right? For every Flipkart there are 10 Snapdeals, right? But how many people can compete with a deep technology startup? Let's say Google. Now Google, after so many years, now has a competition in ChatGPT, right? Until now nobody could think of starting a company to compete with
That
Google.
did happen because they had a code AI there.
Exactly.
Right, very true.
Right.
So you mentioned PhD and like higher education where you can have the wisdom which is very niche specific, can help you create a company which is not in general very easy for any random BTech student to start out. But on the same time, if we were to talk about the BTech, you think that there can be way where we can have the niche specific wisdom while maybe working with the professors? Because reason we are asking this question is this: we have many student bodies on the campus. ESL is just one of them, and we focus on these areas where we can help a student to learn these things. Same time, higher education takes time, and if we were to just think that how exactly we can help the experience of a BTech student to make sure that they learn the right thing, which are around the deep tech or maybe something else, do you think student body can do something over there? And if there something administrative body can do in terms of working student body or maybe helping them some way or other, what would be that?
I think the club culture at IIT Delhi, which is something I have realized after coming here, is excellent, is very good, right? And I would, I have always tried to support the clubs in multiple ways. For example, we started a program called Discover and Learn 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. Where students from different years of BTech can come together, write a proposal, get money from the institute. We started multiple Discover and Learn kind of projects, which help these clubs. And also we started student startup action plan. We used to fund a lot of student ideas with 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs kind of a thing, and they also have helped these clubs. And we also used to regularly give money and resolve all the issues that they have and all of that. I think this club culture needs to be further strengthened to variety of programs. I think if you starve these clubs of funds, after some time it will be a struggle. I still see, yesterday I was meeting with people, students from one club saying, sir, we don't have money, and how do we raise money? And then I said, you post it on LinkedIn, I will comment and share it, then some people might, but that is not the way we should be doing. Of course, fundraising is part of their activity. They should also learn how to raise funds and not just depend on the institute alone. But I think, we have to create avenues for them to raise funds. And we need to support this club culture because they are doing lot of good. Otherwise, students become unidimensional, and that's not going to work. Now, when for innovation to thrive, right? Innovation is also about bringing unlike minds together, minds which are not similar to each other. When I say unlike minds, people who have come with different attitudes, right? And people who come from different disciplines, right? And then people who come from different cultures. So the unlike in the sense of culture, in terms of disciplines, in terms of attitudes, when they start talking to each other, that is when you get new ideas. Otherwise, you have the set of 4 friends or 3 friends, the whole day you hang out with them, right? And everybody thinks of the same, everybody thinks the same way, from similar social background, from similar JE ranks. You won't really get any new ideas out of that. So you need to go out and interact with people who are not like you, who don't look like you, who don't think like you, who have a different. That is where we need to create those avenues as an institute. If you remember, we started a program called GRIP, right? The grassroots innovation program, where during my time we started this village internship programs, where students can go to rural areas in their summer and then spend time in a rural area, all facilitated by the institute, and interact with farmers, interact with panchayats, interact with how a village atmosphere is, what are their problems, when in a day. And I think these are the kinds of things when you expose them, right? That is when you start to learn their problems. And being in Delhi, you also have this advantage of connecting with the ministries, because after all everything happens from this city. So developing those closer linkages with the ministry, doing an internship in Ministry of Agriculture, just to know what kind of problems are they dealing with at the national level, will be a eye opener for you. And I think we need to open the minds. Minds are like parachutes, they function only when they are open. When they are open, you go and you absorb all of these, then you will get ideas, then you think of startups, then you apply your knowledge. So that is very important for IIT Delhi to do on a larger scale.
We have noted all the points. We will certainly gonna think exactly what we can do, because I think initiatives are like the things where you need to constantly put the right effort, and you also make the structure in a way where people can see themselves getting a value added to their profiles, and that is great. On the same time, when you mentioned that there's a lack of fund, that is a problem, and you rightly mentioned that raising a fund is also a challenge, and student bodies, I think, that should be sufficient enough or skilled enough to raise decent capital, but without institute back, we cannot do anything, because we indirectly or directly involved with the IT Delhi name only. But what I know, while working with the admin, we have the funds, they have the right process and the structure to help student bodies, but it takes time sometimes, or sometimes student bodies are not really and having the information as to how they can approach to admin to get the fund. But do you think fund is the only problem? Do you think, is it also important for the admins or maybe student bodies to create the right structure or maybe initiatives? Because the way you mentioned about these two initiatives, Discover and the Grabs, you must have thought around these things first. You must have thought about what kind of structure we can have, right? So do you think we need to actively think, and if answer is yes, or maybe something else we can do to create these initiatives, and what should be the approach so that we can have the sustainable model so that they can go year and year and all the freshmen can benefit from that?
Yeah, I think sometimes, like you said, the funds are there, but the information is missing. How to access that, and unfortunately, COVID has also created a gap in that cultural kind of a thing, and the information has not been passed on to the next batch of students. So, which the closer we bridge that gap, I think the sooner it will become better for the institute. So I think some of these needs to be done. But one resource, is alumni, right? IIT Delhi has excellent alumni, and during my time we launched that endowment fund. It has been a huge success. In fact, on that night I remember we launched that endowment fund in Rashtrapati Bhavan, right? And that night we raised 265 crores. And the President of India said that anyone who will give 5 crores minimum will get to have chai with the President. And so once we announced it to our alumni, that night people flew in from US, right, to have to participate in that event. That one single night we raised 265 crores, and subsequently we added on more founders. Anyone who gives 10 crores becomes a founder. Now IIT Delhi has a commitment of close to 500 crores of alumni donations, and my last 3 years as the IIT Delhi director, we were touching 100 crore kind of a mark in terms of annual alumni contribution. So there is that resource available, and they also want to contribute. And if these student bodies connect with them through proper channels, I can tell you funds will never be a problem. But the institute needs to, of course, facilitate those kind of connections. If you send a mail to them through your Gmail address, nobody is going to respond. But if you as a body, through a faculty member using the endowment fund channels, if you approach them with a proposal, I can tell you, at least 2 out of 3 of them will respond and will also contribute.
We need a
So,
right proposal and we need
exactly.
to know what we're looking for.
Exactly.
And on the same time, approach should be professional, or I would say
Exactly.
just the right approach is required.
Yeah.
Acha, I wasn't aware that a chai could do this much. And you mentioned that a chai could bring people over
No,
here.
it's the
to-
president who could do that. I think let's not give credit to Chai, but let's give credit to the president of India. So.
Again, but I think the chai wasn't the only thing. I think you made a proposal to
Yeah.
for the president so that president can see the value, right? That's important. And the structure of endowment fund, I had this talk with Anurag sir, and then I was amazed to see exactly how
It
endowment
worked very
fund works. I thought it's just the capital which is coming there and we're gonna invest in the startup. No, it's beyond
not
that. It's much more complicated and well structured, well thought of.
Exactly.
And you did that. At the same time, I know the kind of things FITT is doing, which is very dynamic in nature. I can see that building RNI doing great stuff, and I personally will be doing something, and that will be linked with FITT. And it is true for all the IT Delhi LMs. I can see not only IT Delhi people coming and getting incubated over there, but TA 2, TA 3 colleges students, and also the people who are into the deep tech prefer to come over here and work with the professor. But we never had a platform or a building or maybe a required infra so that they can sit and work over here. But this entire ecosystem which you created during your time while working with FITT is gonna create wonders in upcoming time. And endowment fund is just one of the example. I know that they immediately fund in the startups which are coming from the senior years if they see value in that. And the process is very flexible. So you not only created the right infra, you make the processes also flexible enough and on the same time structured enough so that nothing can go wrong, right? So what do you think? I mean, doing your responsibility very well, but on the same time taking this initiative is like different thing. Unless you are really passionate about these things, I don't think you can do that. Any person who is like at a very senior position, I don't think will gonna sit in car and think how I can productize my time and can maybe write on LinkedIn which can help people from other colleges. That's a different approach altogether. So this kind of mindset which is required, I think, in most of the people is missing. What do you think? What is the problem? And if this is something which can solve around that, what is the reason behind that?
I think why others are not doing, I cannot answer. But for example, I'm very proud of this fact that during my time, I went and met with Chairman DRDO, right, Defense Research Organization, and we convinced him why he should invest in IIT Delhi. Now DRDO created Joint Advanced Technology Center at IIT Delhi in 2018, early 18 or something. Now DRDO, now there are 100 faculty members in this institute, about 150 PhD students working on DRDO defined problems. And DRDO has funded us, when I last knew about it, was about 270 crores of funding from DRDO has flown into IIT Delhi. The R&I park which you mentioned has 40 crores of contribution from DRDO towards that park. That's why you see a major JATC activity, defense activity in that R&I park, because they have contributed to that building too. So that has helped quite a bit. Now you will see that every 6 months or every year a technology from IIT Delhi will go to defense forces, whether it could be the bulletproof vest or shoes, the anti-mine boots, or lot of things are happening there. There are a large number of projects happening. It has a project director, and so that is what I think we need to be doing. So we did the same thing with All India Institute of Medical Sciences. I went and met with Dr. Guleria, who was the director, and we had a very simple arrangement. We said, you fund your faculty to collaborate with IIT Delhi, we will fund our faculty to collaborate with AIIMS, and then let them work with each other for 2 years. And after working with each other for 2 years, they can go out and get more funding and all that. So there are at least close to 70 or 80 projects we initiated between IIT Delhi and AIIMS by just funding the faculty. Many of them now have become centers of excellence. Right. So now a lot of money has come in from ICMR and other institutions. After that, the same thing we did with Indian Council for Agricultural Research. I met with the secretary ICAR, and we did the same thing. You fund your scientists, we fund our scientists, and then they collaborate, and then they go out and get more funding. We did it with 7 other institutions in Delhi on those kind of ways, and that is what connecting people with with that unlike minds, as I said, right? When an IIT faculty member is working with a DRDO scientist or an army general, I think the discussions have very different kind of a context, and that is what we need to create as platforms in these institutions. People are bright, people have a certain knowledge. Now the question is, we need to provide them avenues to apply that knowledge to some real world problems. It could be in defense, it could be in space. In fact, we also created, during my time, the ISRO cell at IIT Delhi. So ISRO is now continuously funding that.
Yeah.
We got Shivan, Dr. Shivan as the chief guest here. We signed that MOU at that time. Now that ISRO cell we activated at IIT Delhi. So that is what we need to be doing. We cannot live in isolation and then keep imagining our own problems and publishing papers and think we have done well. I think the time now is to connect with different stakeholders, right, and apply our knowledge to these problems and eventually take them to the society through any way you want, through interactions with industries or through your own startup or through government agencies. So I think that's what.
Collaborations are really important. On the same time, would you like to mention few other initiatives which can be structured and well done if you think that we should be putting our time? For instance, endowment fund and FIT is there. Anything else you would like to mention?
So we did FIRP. In fact, when I joined IIT Delhi, one of the things I realized was the multidisciplinary research. For example, the explosive detector project I did at IIT Bombay had contribution from 6 different departments involved there. The faculty from multiple departments came together and then we started working on some of these problems. So product research always becomes multidisciplinary.
Right.
So one thing which I noticed at IIT Delhi was those interactions between different entities is a bit low key, right? The multidisciplinary research isn't happening as much. So we started a scheme called Faculty Interdisciplinary Research Program, FIRP, and we funded faculty, any faculty member who collaborates with another faculty in another department and writes a good joint proposal. Let's say a mechanical faculty member working with a biology faculty member writes a coherent proposal. Institute gives each one of them 5 lakh rupees for 2 years. So institute spends about 20 lakhs on that for 2 years with the condition that after a couple of years of working together, you need to apply for external funding. Because institute funding is not unlimited. So after 2 years, they need to apply for external funding. We funded almost like 15 crores worth such projects in the institute, just connecting people from different disciplines. Now institute was doing sponsored research in 2016 of about how much, 60 crores, 70 crores, 80 crores kind of amount on an average. Now, we are doing 300 crores of annual research, on an average. So that kind of a growth has happened in sponsored research because people are collaborating more with each other, and we have very actively connected with stakeholders outside of the IIT Delhi system. And this also necessitated starting of new academic units. We started School of Interdisciplinary Research so that the interdisciplinary activities can happen at the PhD level. So in the School of Interdisciplinary Research, SIRE, right? In that SIRE, every student will have 2 faculty members from 2 different departments, and then the students apply against the project, not to a department there, apply against the project, and then the faculty members interview and take them. So that has also benefited many students. There are 10 new academic units we started at IIT Delhi in the last during my 6 years, and these are like a Center for Automotive Research focusing on electric vehicles, School of Public Policy, because policy and technology need to go hand in hand. We realized that need and started School of Public Policy. We started a center for we had the Center for Cyber Physical Systems, and then we have a new Department of Material Science and Engineering, Department of Design. So at least 10 academic units, either by converting the existing ones into the newer ones with a newer mandate or forming them upfront. So at least 10 new units have come up. That is what even the national education policy also is all about, the multidisciplinarity. Only with focusing narrowly on technology, you won't be able to solve any problem. So you need that multidisciplinary approach. As an institute, we have definitely become multidisciplinary. Now we are all set to take on bigger problems, and but we need to generate more resources and then orient the research towards certain directions so that the results will become visible in due course of time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. So this is gonna be the last question, sir. What you would like to tell the people who are in any year, be it MTech first year or PhD second year, or maybe BTech final year. What should be the approach in general to take things forward, or approach any problem, or in general to figure out exactly what you should be doing if you are entrepreneur in nature or you would like to develop that side of you?
I think, my suggestion has always been think big, because you have come to IITs, meaning you are much above the average in the country, and therefore you also need to think much bigger, and you need to, become an expert at something. And the world is all about that expertise now, because if you, are doing anything which is routine, chat GPT will replace you or some technology will replace you. So you need to get into jobs which are more creative, which cannot be replaced by these new agents, the new age tools, and that will happen either by more and more students pursuing higher education, becoming good at something. But I'm not saying, do, like I said, doing PhD doesn't mean you have to become a professor. Doing PhD only means you become good at something. In fact, there are management theories which suggest that you need 10,000 hours of hard work to be called an expert on something, and PhD is basically those 10,000 hours. And once you become expert on something, it's up to you whether you want to, spend time as a faculty member and even do entrepreneurship as a faculty member, or you start your own enterprise, or you work for a deep technology for a big company. You do whatever you want to, but become those experts in those areas, because you have all the brains and everything that is needed, to lead this country into those new age technologies. And we should not be stuck with IT and IT forever. We need to move on and then grab these new opportunities and make the country, a storehouse of, all of those technologies, and a powerhouse of, what will come out of those technologies.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. On the same time, I don't think it's very normal or easy to think on so many things and on the same time execute those things, because you mentioned about different center of excellence. Also, you had these initiative like Endowment for FITT and all the other things you did in your tenure. I don't think I can even know all of things which you did, being the director and also being the faculty. That's great to know about you, sir. I think wherever you go, you will make a great dent over there in positive way. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you.